Hey everybody, welcome to Habitat Now. My name is Aaron Shea, and I have a great honor of welcoming Sean Augustine March to the Habitat family today. I'm looking so forward to learning more about his life, career, and work. But before we get going and more people are joining the Zoom, and if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, hit this bell, share everything we can do to share the world of glass with everybody who loves art. So I'm going to take over your screen real quick and talk about the gallery. If you don't know anything about Habitat, we've been around since 1971. We're the oldest and largest gallery dedicated to the medium of glass art. We have an incredible collection of members of our Habitat family who are both clients and artists. And if you ever want to visit us, please come visit us. We're about 30 minutes outside DTW, which is the Detroit airport in Royal Oak, Michigan. We do these Zooms every Saturday. So if you have a chance to come around at 1 o'clock on Saturday, join us live. If you're watching this on YouTube later, it's great too, as long as we get the word out. You can sign up for our newsletter, join us on Facebook and Instagram, and visit our website, habitat.com, to learn more about us and the artists we represent. If you want to join these Zooms and you don't get a newsletter, or if you just catch this later, on our website, there's a little hamburger here. Click it, and it'll say Zoom, and you can sign up for the Zoom every week without getting an email, but it's always there just in case. NGG continues, which is the future of art. We will be exploring the work of Draper Matthews next Saturday. Sign up for that Zoom. Just putting a shout out there for those who wanted to get a heads up. This is the exhibition. Glass 52 is on display here at Habitat in Royal Oak, Michigan. It is an incredible exhibition with over 400 works on display by artists from around the world, and it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't been here but seen the gallery. If you love art, if you love glass, but if you love art, it is an incredible show. It will knock both of your socks off your feet, and everything's available for purchase. So please come and visit us and see this exhibition. It is worth the trip. It is incredible. Um, then one more thing about commissions. People have gotten excited about early commissions this early summer so they can have work in the fall. So if you're thinking of an artist that you want to work with, including Sean, we'd love to talk to you about that and give you a little one-on-one with the artist, talk about your passion projects. So work with an artist in our Habitat family this summer, commission your dream. This is an example of one we just finished. This was a drawing of an installation done by Demetria Dinopoulos and Dean Benson that was just completed. So this was the drawing from the mock-up. This is how the piece turned out, and this is it installed. So it's amazing when a commission comes together. It's fun to work on these during the summer. So contact me or Corey here at Habitat. Love to work on one with you. So all that aside, I'm so glad to have you join us, Sean. Say hello to everybody, and I'll let you start the presentation soon.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Aaron and Corey. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna just give a little biography about my past and then maybe show you some old works, show my path towards where I am now. So anyway, I'm from Binghamton, New York. I moved to New York City in 2001 at the age of 18 to pursue an art career. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do art. I wanted to either be a musician or a painter. I ended up drawing graphics and patterns for a fashion company here in New York. I was painting in my free time. That job ended up dissolving during the housing crisis in 2009 and left me with a lot of time and little money. So what I would do is I would walk around Financial District grabbing stuff. They would have Financial District was getting rid of a lot of stuff at that time. So I would grab desks or an air conditioner. And one thing that was always around were mirrors. And mirrors were something I've always been into. They're easy to clean, so you can always take them home, clean it up, and do something with it. Anyway, my art teacher in high school once taught us a lesson that I've never forgotten. It was how to etch the backing off a mirror and then paint that etched out part so you would have a combination of mirror and artwork. It was pretty cool, pretty fun thing that I never forgot. Anyway, after a few months of collecting mirrors, I had I had way too many. Didn't know what I was going to do with them, so I decided it's time to etch these. So my first idea was just to make some little razor lines in the mirror and then let light come through. So you would just mostly see mirror, but then you'd get these little like shards of light coming out at you. That ended up leading to my first sculptural glass concept. if you can call it that at that point. It was basically a proto lamp of the things that I'm currently making, which you'll see soon. Back then I was using hot glue, which would fall apart after about 6 months. Um, but since that, I've been honing my craft, making them nicer, using silicone. Um, I was also making geometric wall pieces that didn't have any etchings in them. They were just basic pyramidal pieces that were put together. You'll see those soon. After finding a little bit of success with this style, I decided to put a little more effort into these. I looked into different types of glass and came across dichroic. That moment changed everything. Since this class could do things that nothing else could, it was basically like a colorful two-way mirror, and those colors would change at any angle you looked at them. It was magical. I had to explore this. I had been playing with the infinity effect for some time, so it was a natural progression to incorporate that into my work. Pretty quickly, I developed a lamp using dichroic that looked like a portal into another dimension. I was also making wall pieces with that glass, and things really picked up. I was invited to make a large chandelier for Bloomingdale's Christmas window in 2016 and got picked up by MoMA Design Store for my lamps. Um, During COVID, I decided to start 3D modeling software because I wanted to push my craft. I had always felt I was missing a bit of expression with my earlier works. Uh, you'll be able to see it's very geometric, not much life to it, but very vibrant, very colorful. I wanted to add some emotion, some life, some expression to my pieces. So that pretty much brings us to now. And I guess I'd like to tell you the rest of my story through some photos
Let's do it.
and video, if the video works.
Corey and I are very excited about Sean's work and are looking forward to this presentation. Feel free to take over the screen, Sean. And
All right.
we've been communicating back and forth, trying to get an opportunity to expose the work. And we figured that a Zoom would be a great way to do that as we progress in our partnership. It is a lot of fun to see what the magic he creates. You imagine something, then you see it and it blows your mind. So you might have seen a glimpse of it a little bit when we were sending out newsletters, but I'm looking forward to learning more about the work and the process and its history right now. So feel free to start. Sean, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, Sean Augustine March, that's my name. I'm going to go through some early stuff first. I started with, drawings and paintings. I was very into angles and shading. These are charcoal drawings that I was just very focused on. I would spend hours just just shading and shading and shading. I really loved the depth that I was getting with these. So just me playing around while I was working at, so the company I was working for was Rogan and Upstate. I was making graphic design for them, for their dresses, for their shirts and everything. In my off time, I decided to use the charcoals for myself. Anyway, so,
Got a real grasp of a line there, my friend.
oh yeah, love the lines. Okay, so this is the first of my mirror pieces. This is the first of me utilizing that mirror that I collected over the 6 months that I was, just in between work. Um, so yeah, this one was made around 2011, and it's made from squares. So I would cut squares in half to make them rectangles, and then I would cut those rectangles diagonally, and you would get those shapes. It was very simple to make these elongated pyramids, and I loved the shape, so I kept going with that for a while. You can see another version here around the same time. Now, this is the etching I spoke of earlier. Each panel has a series of like razor thin etchings, allowing the light within the pyramid to shine through. So this was like the very first kind of proto lamp idea I had. Here it is, just, another color on the seamless. This was just a mirror, so it's just reflecting all that color. So this is from a video I had made called In Vanity. And it's basically a little city I made out of mirrored pyramids and mirrored towers, all with different etching patterns in it. It was a lot of fun and showed me just how striking multiple reflections off of reflections could really be. Now we get into the dichroic. This is when I first learned about dichroic glass and was starting to play with it. Clearly, I wanted to do something with lights. I just loved how light interacted with glass, and especially dichroic glass. This stuff just loves light. Now, this is the first wall piece I made. This is called Antimony. I made this for my father's birthday back in 2013. And this uses two colorways. You can see blue gold and magenta green. The blue gold is the blue ones in the center and they reflect gold, whereas the magenta green, of course, transmits magenta, reflects green.
Hmm.
Wait, okay. This piece named Opal is actually next to a few older pieces from my earlier days. The one on the left is just plain glass that I had painted white on the backing. The one on the right was unfinished radial piece that I lost and wish I didn't. So here's another one. This just shows you how important lighting is with dichroic glass. It just really makes it stand out. Here you can see me playing around with the base a bit, trying to add some lively, playful, kind of a pillowy base to it. And that was this was for Melissa in New York City. That's a shoe company. They're actually pretty cool. They use recycled rubber to make all of their footwear. This was a pretty fun project back in 2015. After a little bit, I got a little more cleaner. As you can see, these pieces are getting a bit cleaner. I'm getting more of an idea of how to put these together. This piece called Oubliette was sort of a different way of me thinking about arranging my segments. These are all oriented vertically and sort of reminded me of more of a Gothic aesthetic. I also played with the shading of the glass on this one. The leftmost piece that you see is the same exact colorway as the rightmost piece that you see.
Hmm.
The only difference is the color of the base behind it. The one on the left is painted black behind. The one on the right just has white paint on the base. So you just get two completely separate colorways with the same exact color. I wanted to make this one look kind of like it faded out. This big boy was a commission back in 2017. This was 16 feet wide and used that same vertical orientation. Here's a picture of it with a spotlight on it. You can see all the reflections hitting the wall behind it and on the table below it. The reflections are pretty intense. This is a wholly different style that I worked on. So this is one's kind of hard to explain. This piece right here has 6 triangular shards of glass embedded into a wooden canvas on the wall. On the ceiling, there's a spotlight shining down at the center, and those center pieces are then redirecting the light towards the other pieces. Not only that, but that fanning pattern you see on a lot of these, that's actually the infinity effect being projected outward. So what's happening is these 3 segments of glass here, they each have 2 pieces of glass almost parallel. When the spotlight hits them, it creates the infinity effect within them. But since they're almost parallel, there's a bit that bleeds out and you get that fanning style. I thought that was amazing.
Mhm.
Here you can see the glass a little bit more because the lighting's better. But yeah, so the spotlight just makes this crazy world. These are super fragile, however. Okay, now we're getting into current works. This is where I get into my serious lamps. This lamp is called Fresnel Major. It's a 10 by 10 by 10 inch dichroic cube. This lamp is comprised of 2 cubes, one 10-inch cube, and then a 5-inch cube inside. The light comes from within the inner cube, and the interplay between the inner and outer layers creates an infinity effect that just seems to go in every direction you look. This was at a point that I was very focused on optics and the science behind optics. There's just so much to explore within the field. It's a good time to mention that all of these dichroic pieces are made from optical grade borosilicate glass, otherwise known as Pyrex. I named this piece Fresnel after Augustin Jean Fresnel, a pioneer in the study of optics. My lamps tend to be named after scientists that work or discovered some of the phenomenon that you see in my works. So here's another angle of it. This one is called Rayleigh. I named this after Lord Rayleigh, the person responsible for discovering Rayleigh scattering. That is the phenomenon where you see the sky at the horizon turning pink during a sunset. That's basically atmosphere bending light in a similar fashion to how dichroic is bending light. And here's a close-up of that same lamp. You just can see all this crazy fractal work. The different architecture of this compared to the cube gives you a totally different aesthetic in that reflection. You're getting much more fractalized patterns rather than straight up infinity. Here's another close-up, just showing kind of a combination of that fractal pattern with a bit of infinity at the bottom. Also, the colors that you see in these photos and images, they're not altered. These are that vibrant. Sometimes I have to turn the vibrance down because it's too much for the sensors of these cameras. This one is called Watt, named after James Watt, an ingenious inventor from the 18th century, as well as my mother's last name. It's a 12-sided lamp at about 12 inches by 12 inches by 12 inches. I make this one table standing as well as hanging. So this piece is called Vedas, named after the Lithuanian word for face. I'm Lithuanian, so there we go. My wall pieces are generally named after the feeling or aesthetic that I'm going for. It gives me, wait. So this was my very first run of my new style of works. This is a very different method from my old works, which were mainly comprised of four-sided pyramids that were then comprised together. So, hold on one second. All right. So here it is out in the sun. I'm just trying to illustrate how these look in different types of lighting. When you change the lighting, the way these look completely changes. You can have so much control over how it looks, how little color it has, or how much vibrance it has. It's pretty crazy. So this is the sister piece to Vedas, I call cicatrix, which means healed scar. It's sort of a sister piece to Vedas. I wanted to flex my modeling muscle a little bit and play with the topography of the surface, which I think gives it an interesting combination of structure and chaos. Here's a side view of it. You actually get a little bit of internal reflection down there in the bottom right, which is, yeah. Up next, this is Bayonet. This piece was conceived in a similar fashion. Imagine a tablecloth on a plinth being pulled up by its corner. You're seeing a moment in time of that action happening. This piece is comprised of 170 segments of glass and weighs less than 10 pounds. The structure is freestanding and holds itself in position. It has an aluminum base and is 50 inches by 16 inches by 16 inches. Here's a close-up. This one was really fun and really taught me a lot about balance. Part of what makes me love this piece is how it walks the line between danger and fragility. This piece called Corpse Flower is currently being finished. I'm not sure if you can tell, but this is a rendering. In order to make these work and understand what I'm about to be building, I need to see these works as if they would be real pieces before I ever even make them realistically. I had to develop ways to create shadows and caustics for this glass to look so realistic. It took me about a year of learning Blender to make these renderings look realistic, and it has absolutely just pushed my craft forward in ways that I still can't comprehend. So this piece is called Cygnus Olor, named after a specific swan. Another rendering. I will explain these renderings soon. It's a part of the process, and you'll be seeing a video detailing basically how I work. Here's another angle of it. So this one will be hanging off of two aircraft wires. This one is called Pastille, and it sits on a plinth with a metal base, and this one focuses on twist and tension. As you can see in the center, there's a lot of tension in that twisting. This one is called helicoid. It focuses on gravity and pull and is 38 inches by 24 inches by 14 inches. So that's just another angle of it. This one is called, oh boy, it spelled it wrong. Asagi. This one is called Asagi. It is 34 inches by 23 inches by 24 inches, and it's wall hanging. And if we can see the videos later, you'll see just how dynamically beautiful this is as you're walking from it, as you're walking from side to side looking at it. So, okay, seems like videos will work. So this is a rendering of a gallery space with this series of work. So this just shows a bunch of these pieces showing all sorts of different themes. So this one is just draping, hanging. With this, we've got inflation. And here you can finally see this one as you move from side to side. And then that's cicatrix. Bayonet. Helicoid. Pastille. And Cygnus Olor. So these are fairly realistic recreations, or I guess not recreations because I create them afterwards, but these are fairly realistic creations of what you would see with dichroic, maybe a little less vibrant actually. Let's get past that. So to explain a little further about my whole process with this, so these pieces were all at one point just a cloth fabric, just a square cloth fabric that I would manipulate as if I were playing with it in real life. But instead of fabric, this was panels of glass. So in this video, you'll actually see some of that action. And what I like to do is I like to combine the physical art with the video art of how it became, about the genesis of the shape.
Hmm.
So all of these pieces have their corresponding genesis and animation for that, which that's something that hooked me from the very beginning, and that's why I'm doing these. So here's some of my process. So this is a short video sped up of basically my process of how I'm actually creating these pieces. This is a piece that's going to be made in the future that I fell in love with recently. So basically, there's that flat panel. I do a lot of technical stuff here. I'm just subdividing it so it can be treated like an actual fabric. Let's see if we can get farther. Ah, there we go.
Is this in Blender still?
This is in Blender. This
Yeah,
is within Blender. Yeah, if I don't explain anything fully, just please ask.
sure.
Um, so yeah, that's me playing around with this fabric, just seeing what I can do with it. Looks a little janky there, but that's to make the computer run faster.
Mm.
Um, let's move up a little bit. So you can see I'm starting to triangulate there. Okay, here we go. So this is where I get what I like. I'm twirling it in the air, and there's one moment that I just love, and it's coming right there. So I'm going to stop it in a second, and you're going to see it pause. Suspended animation right there. What I love about this is that twist. I love this towel being wrung aesthetic. So I kept that, and now what I do is I triangulate it, and then I shade it. So I want to really look at it as if it were really there because I want to review it. So just me playing with shading for a bit, playing with the color, making sure it matches up with what it will in real life. And then I do a few more, add the silicone. There we go. And then cool thing about this is I can still animate it. So if I wanted to, I could make the life of one whole piece going from beginning to completion. And that is something I plan on doing at some point. So yeah, that's that part of the process. Here's the other part. So after I make a piece I like, a composition I like, I then have to flatten it out like a jigsaw puzzle. And I've got hundreds of pieces. They've all got to be numbered. I lay them out flat on a table, and I just start cutting the glass, placing them, and then connecting them together. As you can see, this piece is bayonet. So just slowly putting that together. As you can see, it's a jigsaw puzzle with no fitting pieces. So it's a real pain sometimes, but it's definitely worth it. Here it is slowly coming together.
And you're hand cutting
So,
all the pieces?
what?
Are you hand cutting all the pieces yourself? Hand cutting them?
So I have a CNC machine that I modified to cut glass with.
Hmm.
After cutting so much glass back in 2018, I realized I needed a machine to do the cutting for me, and it's helped me a lot. Without without that, I don't think I'd be able to make these pieces. It's too precise, and there's too many cuts. So yeah, CNC. Here it is, a bit more, almost completed. And then there we go. That's the rendering on the left, and that's the almost finished piece on the right. As you can see, it's pretty identical, which I don't know what was harder, making the piece or making the rendering look realistic. So yeah, that's pretty much my current series.
Someone asked from the crowd, um, Arlene asked, how do you give it that twisted look? My guess is when it's at that point of the twist in the cloth, how does it come out in the glass?
So, let's see if I can show you in that one. I don't have a good close up of it. Let me see if I have. So right here, if you can look closely, um, the pieces of glass get quite a bit smaller during the twist. And that is definitely the hardest part of this process. So what I do for this piece will be made in two segments, one left, one right, and then the small pieces will then connect at the very end. But yeah, the twisting is something I pay attention to. I basically, when I'm rendering these, when I'm making them in Blender, I can play with the amount of triangles I want, how big the triangles are in that twist, and how tight they are. This one, I wanted it to be fairly tight. I wanted it to look like no air could pass through.
Gotcha. And the structure itself, it must be reinforced at that particular point as well.
So this is on a aluminum stand. There's a thin aluminum bar you can see that holds it up from
Mm,
the center.
gotcha.
And these are very light. They're this piece, I mean, the bayonet being at 50 inches by 16 by 16 weighs less than 10 pounds. You can hold it with one hand. You wouldn't want to, but you could.
Thank you.
So yeah, the way I work, pretty much, I make a lot of these things ahead of time. I'm not like it's not like hot working where I make the piece and then I have it finished. I like to conceptualize works. I like to conceptualize multiple works together and get a cohesive idea between all of them. And then I like to build them.
Can you explain a little bit about what Blender is?
So Blender, yes, absolutely. Blender is 3D modeling software. It's used widely in the animation world, in the VFX for movies. It's used in the ad world. Anytime you see an ad on Instagram of a Rolex that's breaks up into a million pieces, you see the all the parts of it, and then it comes together. That's basically Blender. Or if you see like lipstick falling into colorful water. That's Blender. There's all sorts of things that you can do in Blender. And I had always known, not always, but I had for years understood CAD software because some of these projects I had to build, I had to actually plan ahead of time. So I thought it would be really fun to be able to make these works without making these works. This glass is not cheap and it takes weeks to just make one concept. Now I can make 10 concepts in one day and really focus on them, making them more expressive, making them actually have some meaning to me and to other people who just view it.
Thank you, Sean. Another question is, can you help explain what makes dichroic glass different from regular glass?
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, so um dichroic let's see if I actually have an image. Okay, anyway, dichroic glass works like this. It works off a concept called thin film interference. So, what you're getting with thin film interference is what you would see on an oil slick or a bubble. You see this iridescent shimmering pattern. What's happening there is that thin film of oil, light is hitting the top surface, bouncing off that top surface, hitting your eye. But not only that, but it's going through, hitting the bottom surface of the oil, and then coming through its own substrate. So what you're getting is a combination of these two different wavelengths, and it is literally bending the light into color. So what dichroic glass has is about 50 layers of micron thin metal oxides, such as aluminum, titanium, magnesium, bunch of different oxides. These oxides are super thin, literally the same thickness as a wavelength of light. So these pieces of glass here, they're blue. The reason they're blue is because the dichroic layers are actually 450 nanometers thick, which is the wavelength of blue. So
Hmm.
it's trapping. I'm not sure exactly scientifically what's happening, but they're controlling that with these layers of metallic oxides. So you get these colors. It's not pigment, it's actually bending the light itself. You're not actually darkening anything like a filter would. You're just bending the light. So you get the same amount of vibrance, you get the same amount of light at the other end. It's pretty crazy.
It's very special, and I've seen it used in a lot of. Eric Hilton uses it in his artwork as well. Different in style entirely, but as you walk around it, sometimes they change in appearance, which adds a lot to the work. Sean, last question from the audience. Can you tell us what what a CNC machine is?
A CNC machine is a computer aided, um, let's say you've got a drill. It's a router and it points straight down. You put like a panel of wood in there and it will cut according to your computer graphic that you want. So let's say you want to cut a perfect square, it will drill down and then cut a perfect square. So what I did was I modified a CNC to have a little glass cutting head on the end. And all I do is I punch my dimensions in and I place my glass and I just hit enter and it cuts it.
Thank you, Sean. So imagine you've seen 3D printers. A CNC machine works on a flat surface only, while 3D can create things as it moves around and creates an object. This is simply uses a cutter for flat objects. In this particular case, it's glass, but most people use it for wood. So I'm gonna ask quickly, how are the pieces adhered together?
So these pieces are adhered together with silicone. I use aquarium silicone, and it's basically the same stuff you would use in an actual aquarium. So what's cool about this, it's as you can see, looking at it when it's flat, it's sort of like stained glass in a sense. But instead of using tin and bronze or whatever they use, I'm using silicone. Silicone is very malleable, and you can actually flex all of these pieces until it's like finished. Once it's finished, it's a very tight. Uh, the geometry holds itself in the way it wants to be held. Before then, if it's flat, you can just flap these, fold these in half. And yeah, the silicone has been working wonderfully. I absolutely love it, and it makes this all possible.
Thank you, Sean.
So yeah, more of the finished piece. So as you can see, it comes out exactly, I mean, as close to as exact as you can imagine as the renderings.
The coloring is magic, my friend.
Oh yeah,
Really
literally, it's
incredible.
literally magic. So as you can see, most of what I've been doing for my current series has been one colorway, and that's blue gold. I focused on that because I'm trying to make a more cohesive body of work. I will expand into other colorways, and I'm not sure if I will ever mix colorways in one of these pieces. I don't know if that's going to translate the way my old pieces did. Um, but hey, I might try.
Do these pieces have like an aluminum base or something they're adhered to?
Yes, yes. So this one you can see on the bottom right there of the bottom of the top side of the plinth has an aluminum base. There's no base for the vertical part below. It doesn't need one. It just stands in front of the plinth. So if you were to pick that up, it just picks up right by the base. And it looks very precarious. It looks like it would tip over or something, but it's counterbalanced by itself and just perfectly stands on its own. There's nothing supporting it whatsoever
Got
other
it.
than itself. So yeah, another thing, the dynamic nature of this glass when it comes to lighting is just insane. You can have so many different options. I have a piece at a local gym that I go to a lot, and they don't have any light on it. And the coolest thing about that is it looks almost clear in the dark and like clear in pastel. And then so these guys, these ones, I mean, you're getting every light of the spectrum at one angle from these lamps. No matter where you're looking from, you're gonna get a bit of every color. I actually should have some video of these. No, I don't.
How did the lamps plug in? Just with regular cords?
So the lamps, they have a 15-foot cord that just plugs directly into the wall and has a switch.
And is all your glass the same thickness?
All of my glass is 2 millimeters thick. So it's on 2 millimeter borosilicate. And these all come, most of these are coming from Coatings by Sandberg out in California.
Once you have a rendering done, on average, how long does it take to actually make a piece to fruition?
So for example, Bayonet, that took exactly 10 days.
Nice.
Um, the modeling of it took one full day, like conceiving it took a full day. I was making a bunch of pieces that day. And then from making the map to physically having it built was 10 days.
And everything, you do it all yourself once
I
you're
do
at
it all myself.
CNC.
And 10 days would have been faster if it was in the summer. Silicone needs humidity to cure. And in the winter, it takes a bit longer.
What is the next piece you're making on the of
The
the
next
renderings?
piece I'm making is almost finished, and that is corpse flower right here. So this piece is in the works currently. It's actually in it's at like this stage.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So that one will be done probably next Monday.
So all the parts are ready. You're
All the parts
assembling.
are ready. They're actually assembled. They're just the big segments aren't put together, and I haven't cleaned and I haven't received the base yet. I ordered the base out. I'm not gonna make an aluminum base.
Very
And then
cool.
following that, this one's gonna be the next one made. Then this one, and then this one, and then this one. So these generally every 2 weeks.
So we have a price list available for the works that are made and are up and coming. Should anybody be interested, I'd love to share, the style, the sizes, and the pricing of each individual work. And if there's something you catches your eye, I'd love to put you in touch with Sean to possibly create a piece of your dreams.
Should I show that?
No, we'll send it out for
Okay,
those who
great,
ask. Would be great.
great.
Got a great space to work in.
Yeah, here in Bushwick, you gotta fight for any amount of space you got, and luckily I got a really nice space and made it work for me. As you can see, my glass cleaning spray doubles as support often. Very helpful.
I agree.
People always ask why I have razor blades everywhere. That's of course to get the silicone off of this. I mean, until it's cleaned, it looks like a mess. You can see in the back here, I've got a little steamer. That's because it was winter and I was trying to get more humidity on them to cure them faster.
How do you decide where to start building?
I go by the numbers,
You do.
literally. They're I end up numbering them on the computer. It automatically numbers them. I don't know which how they decide to number them, but they number them and then I just go by number. And then I usually connect the largest segments together first, and then I go for the smaller ones. And then I just kind of work my way in from that. This one bayonet was very confusing. As you can see, there's not much you can read from the geometry until it's together. Like this whole area in the back is basically, it's a handkerchief that's been crumpled. And that was really hard to navigate, but I got it.
So when you look at these works now, let's say this piece is completed, do you still feel like it's a cloth in your own style? Or does it emanate like an alternate world for you? Or does it feel like it's some kind of deep science thing? What do you feel when you see the works on completion?
When I what I see a lot of different things, to be honest. Um, I've had this piece at my place for a while, and what I like, it's hard to be it's hard to be objective when you're making these works yourself. It's hard to look at them properly. And so I would walk by it, not realizing that I'm about to walk by my piece. And I would be like, oh, well, that's cool. And the things that struck me were the things that really I love about this piece specifically is it looks dangerous to me. It looks dangerous and at the same time fragile. There's some beauty I find in that. This like fragility that could also, if you slip, will go right through you. It's a nice juxtaposition between fragility and just stark sharpness. And what I see, I definitely see the animation. I see the moment, the moment in time, and I see the movement in all my works because that's really what drove the compositions.
If someone were to buy this piece, would you be able to include the video of it coming to fruition from
Absolutely,
Blender? That'd be
absolutely.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like that's I want that to be a part of its story. I want you to see its birth and its growth.
It's great.
As we move more forward into um, virtual types of worlds, you're going to be seeing a lot more art in the virtual world. And I want my physical art to also be in that part of the world. You're going to see more augmented reality. I want to focus on things like that. I love the whole reason I started making those lamps in the beginning was because I was trying to make something look as if it were fake. I wanted people to look at my photos and go, hey, was that photoshopped in there? And then alternatively, as I'm making these new designs in Blender, all I can think while I'm making them is I want to make this virtual stuff look real. I want people to think it's real. I want to meet both in the middle. I want you to think, I want your brain to blow up, not knowing what you're looking
Gotcha. It's great. Working. It's working. You don't know what you're looking at for sure
at.
till you get the walk around. It really helps.
Yeah, and I have video of all of these as well. But I have video of the finished piece here. I didn't think I could actually embed video into this, and turns out I could. So yeah, this one, Corpse Flower, will be finished in about a week.
Love to see if the final when you're ready, we can share it with everybody.
Absolutely.
We got a great grasp of your career and work and vision now. This is great, Sean. I'm happy to have
Thank you.
this Zoom with you today and really get an idea of like how you work is very unique from the world I'm in, being able to
Yeah,
create 3D renderings and make them come to fruition using technology and then your own hands.
yeah.
It's a
It's
lot
it's
of
kind of
fun.
a it's kind of a the opposite. It's like I'm not really working. My hands aren't doing the work. I'm not in this flow state with in the sense that someone hot working glass would be. I'm more I'm in my flow state when I'm making the actual animation, and then I am following the rules and doing the work.
And you're choosing a difficult way of doing it too. You're not choosing the easiest way. You're very particular in what your style and technique is, which is important.
Oh yeah, I always overcomplicate things. I find beauty in that for some reason.
Great. Well, then how many more slides you got left, Sean? That's it.
That's pretty
Okay.
much what we got.
Okay, well, it's great to have you today. Join us and give us a glimpse into your work and early in your career of creating these new styles. We'll put out. We have a price list here at the gallery of works that are available and upcoming, and we hope to someday in the future be able to offer the lamps also by Sean. He's been making for a while now that are quite in demand and very stunning and beautiful, and explore color in all kinds of ways and styles that is important to the medium of glass. Um, Thank you again. We'll do a quick tour of the virtual presentation again. And this was all the pieces you have able to drop and render together, which is quite amazing.
Yep.
Even the movement of the camera is realistic. It's not like a
Yes. Yes, that's a trick I learned in the process. You can also see I've got autofocus doing its work.
pretty spectacular.
So this one you really see that dynamic change. A lot of these ones that twist, you have to walk around them.
Your work is magic, my friend. Thank you again. You can
Thank
go ahead
you.
and stop sharing your screen.
All right.
Uh, we appreciate you doing this for us today. This work is available through Habitat. Contact me, Aaron Shea, if you have any questions about the work and able to connect you with Sean and see what's coming down the pipeline as he creates. I look forward to seeing everybody again next week. If you're looking at this via YouTube, please share and subscribe. And look forward to seeing you next week. And looking forward to possibly in the future having Sean's work directly in the gallery for you to come see in person. Thank you, Sean, once again.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.